So I am here today with Dr. Harhari Khalsa, a friend of mine for 10 years. Had a lot of fun along the way.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
from the very first day we met.
that's right.
Never forget it.
Yeah, that was rather intense. So Dr. Khalsa has a beautiful clinic here. For how many years have you had your clinic?
We've been here since 2018, so 8 years. Yeah.
Right, and then but you've been in the practice of serving people with their health for how many years?
38 years. It's 1988 when I graduated.
So like you're a super OG.
Yeah.
And plus the fact that you're in Los Angeles, and so LA is like the mecca for so many things health related and natural wellness. It really is the epicenter.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and the cool thing is that you've been on the ground one-on-one. So it's not like theory, you think it might work or you hope it's going to work.
Yeah.
It either works or it doesn't. And it's really rare to be in that position because, the whole biohacking world is fun, but when it comes right down to people's personal lives and you're dealing with serious stuff.
Yeah, one-on-one.
And you've had a lot of really high-end clients to people who couldn't really afford stuff. You've still served the whole gamut. And that learning is priceless. We don't really realize how valuable that is.
Yeah.
Because until, a person comes and then they get your whole entire download.
Yeah.
So you're in a couple of days, or in June, you're 66.
Yep. Yeah.
Right.
Next month will be 66.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, people say I'm an OG. No, you're an OG. I'm a newbie. I've been around, I've been studying this for 22 years, really only going at it for about 19. But, meeting yourself, I mean, you've shared so many things with me that made a big difference in my learning and able to help other people. How did you even you went to chiropractic school or what? So that's kind of was the start.
Well, I actually started with yoga like in 1980. Actually, if you're really going to go all the way back, I started in 1980 with yoga in college.
Right.
And at that time, actually, if you go back even further, 1976, when I was 16, I got a job at a heart valve manufacturer, heart valves. And so it was really like a dream job. I was a biology major in high school. That was like my passion. I wanted to go into biology and medicine, whatever. So I got this job in a heart valve factory, which was working with biomechanical engineers, which was mind blowing. Okay. Cause it was biomechanical engineer means you're biology, chemistry, and engineering, all three at the same time. So it's really the hardest major of any scientific major there is. And so I was around these guys who were super geniuses, basically, at age 16.
And you're in LA.
Yeah, it was in Orange County. And an interesting thing about that was I was in the return department, meaning all the people who didn't make it from their valve replacement, they would send it back to the lab and I would do analysis on the valve, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what was the most common thing was the surgeons would scrape the titanium with their forceps. And that one little scrape was enough to cause a clot, stroke, or a heart attack.
Wow.
So it ended up that was actually a malpractice. At that time, it was the largest malpractice suit in history, multi-billion-dollar suit actually Pfizer bought that company. So it was called Shiley, but when I was there, Pfizer bought them. And then they had a lawsuit, multi-billion-dollar lawsuit. And I was part of the legal team. So
right. Wow.
that was my humble beginnings in medicine. And then, but then I and then what happened is I actually got injured when I was 19. I had 3 injuries. I had a car accident, I hit a tree skiing, and I fractured my spine diving. Because I was 19, I was crazy. I still am crazy. But anyway, so I was messed up and I was in chronic pain at 19, and I didn't know anything other than Western medicine. So I went to a medical doctor. He prescribed drugs. I'm like, no, I'm not taking drugs. Even back then, I didn't want to take drugs. And then he said, okay, go to the physical therapist. I went there and that didn't do anything. And finally, I was in a yoga class and at the end of the class, I told the teacher, I said, listen, I'm in like chronic pain, dude. Like, I don't know what should I do? And he's like, you should go see a chiropractor. And I'm like, what's a chiropractor? I didn't even know what the word was.
Wow.
Because back then, like where I grew up, my parents, we just didn't use chiropractors. So I went to the and that was quite an eye-opening experience for me because it was all about homeopathy, craniopathy, what happened during your birth. It was like all these things I never even thought of. And he started doing his thing, and it helped. It was the only thing that actually fixed my problem.
Right.
And so I was sold. At that point, I was like, okay, this is the path that I need to take. Because I was fully committed to medicine. But when I saw what the chiropractor was doing, it's like, that's what I want to go. There's where I want to go. And so that's when it really got me going. And then I was also doing yoga, meditation. I lived in an ashram, yoga ashram. I mean, admittedly, it's a cult, okay? And now when I look back, it's like, oh, yeah, I was in a cult. But I mean, the Sikhs are, it's a kind of a hybrid. Like, to me, it's like I do my own thing. Like, yeah, I was in the cult. I did the thing. But I still believe in the basic principles of, meditation and just conscious lifestyle, really. Just conscious
being
lifestyle.
Healthy.
Yeah. Eating good, taking care of yourself, serving the community. So that's how I kind of got into it. And at that time, it was funny because one of the women in the ashram, her brother was a medical doctor, but he was holistic. And this was extremely rare. This was early 80s. And I told him I wanted to go to medical school. And he said, nope. He goes, don't go to medical school. He says, they're going to brainwash you. And so I took because, and then I was like, okay, I should go to chiropractic. And I'm glad I did. Could I have been way more prosperous? Yeah. If I was a medical doctor, for sure. I'm way more happy now, though, than any medical doctor that I know.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, money is not.
Yeah, I mean, being able to actually help people naturally is like the biggest gift that we have, I think.
Yeah, it's the biggest buzz, right? You see somebody feel better, and they don't have to go through all the barbaric stuff that the medical world offers. And just the whole holistic approach. So, what was the spiritual background of your mom and dad?
Well, I was raised Jewish, so I was bar mitzvahed when I was 13. But we were like Reform Jews, so we weren't. Although my grandparents were Orthodox. So my mother's side, he was a cantor, and on my father's side, he was a butcher, a kosher butcher,
right,
from the old world, the Eastern European, Poland and Russia, that area.
What type of, is it like Ashkenazi or?
Yeah, all those that whole group.
Yeah. Interesting.
Another cult. I was getting out of one cult, getting in another cult, and then I finally figured out I don't want to be in any cult.
Right, that's right. So what did your parents think about you getting into the yoga? And
they were like, in the beginning, they were completely freaked out. Like, they actually tried to deprogram me. They hired deprogrammers. Oh, did I ever tell you that story? Oh my God. So I had graduated from college. I just graduated in 1984. I was staying with them in Orange County. And one day they're like, these guys were at the house. I'm like, who are these guys? They were gentle, though. They were like deprogrammers light. I mean, there were some pretty serious deprogrammers back in the day. But these guys were more like friendly deprogrammers. But so what ended up happening at the end of the whole session, which was like a long session, I basically said, listen, I'm not going to play your game. And they knew I was serious. So they left me alone. But like a few years later, after I got married and started having kids, everything shifted. And they were totally supporting Sikhs and the lifestyle. And even one time I was at an event and I wasn't wearing my white turban. My mom's like, why aren't you wearing your white turban? I'm like, what? What is wrong with you? So it completely switched. Flipped.
Right. Your mom's still alive. She lives out in the Palm, right?
Yeah, Palm Springs. She's 91. Yeah. Did you met her? Did you meet
I didn't
her?
get to meet your mom. No.
Oh, okay.
No, but we'll meet her for sure.
Yeah.
And your dad? What happened with your
He passed away in 2007. And he was a heavy smoker, super heavy duty, like bad lifestyle, like on every level. Everything you can imagine. Quart of ice cream every night, ate at In-N-Out Burger, and basically took himself down.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Had fun doing it, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that iteration then from the yoga going into the chiropractor school. When you went through chiropractor school, did you do any kind of specialty stuff on that, or was it like?
Well, it's funny you're saying that because I actually ended up going to 3 chiropractic schools. I started up at Western States in Portland, Oregon. And I got through the first year and a half. The thing is I went to that school because my chiropractor, that's where he went. And I loved that guy. His
Right.
name was Rudy Zupanik. It was in Eugene, Oregon, right? And he was a dual licensed DC and ND. So and his specialty was homeopathy and craniopathy. And I mean, his guy was
really cool guy.
I mean, he was awesome, dude. And I was like, I'm going to where this guy went. And I didn't even investigate the school. But what I found out is like after I went there, that there was National Naturopathic School and then Western States. They were one school up until like a few years before I went there. And then they split them in half.
Right.
And so I didn't know that they had done that. So after the first year, I realized, wait a minute, I'm not getting the education I thought I was going to get, with the herbs and homeopathy. Right. Yeah. It was just chiropractic, which I love chiropractic, but it felt like a half of what I needed.
Right.
So I was like, you know what? I just like, I thought, I just quit. I literally quit after a year and a half. And then I moved to LA because Yogi Bhajan, who was our yoga guy, teacher, or whatever, he was here and the community was big here in LA. So I moved here and he was telling all the students to go see this one lady who was a psychic. And I never go to psychics, but I said, okay, he's telling people to go. So I went. And so this woman, she was actually amazing. She told me everything was going to happen to me in my whole life. Like, and I'm like, here I am like, what? Oh my God. And she was actually right. She's like, you're going to go back to school. You're going to have a family. You're going to have a clinic. You're going to do all these cool things. Pretty much everything she said happened.
Right.
Yeah. It really was kind of weird because it made me feel like we don't really have much of a choice on what happens with our lives.
Yeah, somebody can read it into the future or something's up.
Yeah. So that was like, which was cool, but I felt like that was my destiny. So I was cool with it,
Right.
Because I'm doing stuff I love. I love natural healing. I'm all about it, And anytime I've had a problem, except for my heart issue, which we can talk later, but I've always used natural healing. That's it. That's the only thing I've used.
So homeopathy, did you get trained in homeopathy at one point? Or?
Kind of. I mean, because I never really got to go to school for it, but I ended up just taking postgraduate classes, mostly in kinesiology. Like I started with standard process.
Oh, that's an old.
And I, what was his name? That guy, the old OG guy that he basically taught, AK, applied kinesiology, in relation to standard process products. So that was like the first real system I learned. And it was really a great system. Furstendahl. Did you ever know who that was? You should do a deep dive and find out about that guy because he was the OG standard process AK doctor. He had an encyclopedia of every condition and how to treat it with nutrition. And I fully dove into that and I filled my office with all the standard process. But the funny thing is, because LA is so much into vegetarian and vegan, even back then, we're talking early 88, 89, more than half of my patients wouldn't take my recommendations because they were vegetarian. Standard process has glandulars.
Right, yeah. Well, standard process is like the ultimate compounding nutraceutical pharmacy, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they have great products, but then it just, I couldn't get it. I couldn't get the patients to comply. And I'm like, oh God, this is horrific. So that's when I went into more homeopathy with Apex. I don't know if you're familiar with Apex Energetics, but they did, more like, pre-done formulas. So I don't have the skills of a classically trained homeopathist, but I was using pre-done programs with homeopathy, right? So that's and that was easy because no one could say no. It's like, there's no meat, there's no glandular, it's just alcohol with vibration. So that's what I did for years. I had a huge pharmacy. And, I got into all kinds of different nutraceuticals that were a lot of the stuff we take for granted now was avant-garde in the early 90s, like glucosamine and stuff like that, turmeric, stuff we just take for granted now.
How did you do the diagnostics? Was there any kind of biofeedback stuff at the time, like the electrodermal scanning or what?
Well, they had that. I mean, they had Vol, like, what was it? EAV.
Right.
Where I worked, my first practice that I did was at Cedar Sinai in the East Tower of Cedar Sinai. I was the only chiropractor in the whole freaking Cedar Sinai complex. It was a trip, dude. But I ended up treating a lot of people at Cedars-Sinai because of that. But the guy that I worked with, Dr. Saram, did you know who he was?
No.
Another one you want to do it. Yeah, he was the Hollywood doctor, and he was also a yoga student of Yogi Bhajan, and he basically had a lockdown on all of Hollywood. Every producer, director, actor came to that office. So I got exposed. That's where I got exposed to. I met Ben Stiller before he even did his first movie, and Andy Dick, and Judith Light, and Stevie Nicks, and everybody. I mean, I basically treated half of Hollywood, because of that experience I had there. But he did EAV, and he went to Germany every year to upgrade his skill set. And he was very good at it. I personally never learned it, but I was aware of it at that time. I was pretty much just using muscle testing, at that point, which I got really good at. And then I didn't really get into diagnostic stuff like that until the early 2000s when I got the first, what was that called? QXCI.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So I got into that early 2000s. And that's a really good machine. Personally, I got burnt out using it because it's kind of a sad story, but my first wife had cancer. And in that process of taking care of her, I would do 3 and 4 or 5 hour sessions on that machine to work with her. And it was, the energy. I mean, even though it's a machine doing it, it's still, it's like running a marathon energetically. And I was just like, I just at a certain point, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to make my life easy. 4 hours on a machine. Oh my God, it was intense. And so, when she passed away in 2005, I had a huge clinic at that point. I had a clinic kind of like this. It was down Robertson and Olympic. Everything in that clinic was huge. But I was like, you know what? I just want to make my life as simple as possible. So I sold everything I had and I became a straight chiropractor. All I did was adjust people for a decade, 10 years.
Wow.
And I had probably 8 different offices that were all about this size, just one room and a chiropractic table. And I learned zone healing. Are you familiar with zone healing? Yeah. So that's Dr. Thurman Fleet. I was doing zone healing. Zone healing, by the way, is unbelievable, and it works. It's incredible. But after a while, and I kind of was having a great life. Like I had super low overhead. I lived on my friend's couch in his house. I had literally, my overhead was like less than $500 a month in LA.
That's really good. So could you explain to somebody, if they've never heard of zone healing, just the basics of zone?
Well, zone healing was, it was this technique that this guy from the 1930s, he was an OG chiropractor who, he had like a spiritual awakening. And basically he was channeling all this information. He didn't even know what it was. He was just channeling it. And it was in Sanskrit. He was writing. He was like automatically writing, like with none of his own conscious. And after he had done that, his whole room was filled with all this stuff. And he didn't know what it was. It was in Sanskrit. And so literally everyone, including himself, thought he had gone insane. But somebody came in and looked, analyzed it, and they were like, wait a minute, this actually makes sense. And so they put it all together, and it was an entire system of healing using what they call the zones. And there's 6 zones. So the zones are basically control centers in the brain that are linked to the vertebrae, different sets of vertebrae. And so there's a way you analyze it through the back of the occiput. You can feel these points on the back of the head. And by the feeling, you can tell what zone is out of balance, right? And then you adjust that particular zone, and then that's readjusts at the level of the brain, and it resets the whole system. And I mean, I had patients, pretty much it fixed everything, including tumors. I had one lady who had this is an incredible story. She had a temporary colostomy. They wanted to make it permanent. She had a rectal tumor that was blocking her rectum. So she couldn't go to the bathroom, right? This woman was a famous Cuban jazz singer. I can't remember her name, but she was famous, like world famous lady. But one of her habits, 2 packs of cigarettes a day.
No, wow.
I'm like, well, I said, listen, according to Thurman Fleet, who, by the way, was a heavy smoker himself, he said, if someone has that condition, you adjust them every day. No, twice a day. I do it morning and night, every single day. So she did that literally for 6 weeks. She came in, I adjusted her in the morning, adjusted her at night. 6 weeks later, she goes back to the oncologist. They're like, we can reverse your colostomy now.
Nice.
Tumor's gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. That's what really woke me up to like, okay, I could do this as a profession. So I did it for like 10 years. And then
you still do it at all for people?
Occasionally. But like what ended up happening is one of my doctor at that time, which was Rex Wilson. Did you know Rex?
I'm definitely.
Yeah. So he was my doctor and he's my friend, right? And so I would go to him for whatever, and he had every analysis device. And one day I came in there and he's like, listen, there's a new one coming from Germany and it replaces everything. And that's the cyberscan.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, that sounds really cool. So I got to experience it, not through him, but through Roy Dittman. I don't know if you know Roy.
I know Roy, yeah. I've known Roy forever.
Yeah.
For
So
19 years, almost as long as you.
Yeah. So anyway, Roy had it, and then I, started getting treated as a patient, and I was like highly impressed. I was like,
so Roy had a cyberscan?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He treated me, and after my third time doing the remedy, I had chronic knee pain from years, like at least 2 or 3 year old injury that wasn't getting better. And after the third remedy, I think actually I switched. I started with Roy, but then I started going to James.
I remember James. He was hooked up with Jerry.
Yeah.
Right.
So I went to James, and then by the third remedy, my knee got better. I'm like, wow, this thing really works. That's I have to anything I do generally in healing, I like to be the test subject, at least on some level, right?
Yes.
And so when I saw that helped me, and then I talked to Narinan and I said, hey, why don't you try it too? Let's just see, because it's a really expensive machine, and we had no money at that point.
Yeah, they're 35 grand.
Yeah, it was really, and at that point I was, my income was $1,000 a month. I mean, I had really low overhead. And, she tried it, and she's like, wow, she was completely blown away. She goes, let's do it. So we ended up, buying the cyberscan.
2016, around there? 2014 you got it.
Yeah. Wow. And then so we got it, and then I ended up going to Germany with Rex, and we studied with Dieter.
With Dieter, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so then that became my main mode of diagnostic and treating, really, because I was making remedies, and I've been doing that consistently now since 2000. So 12 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've got a lot of experience there, and that's a really big point, because you can go deeper, and it's not just a physical thing. So can you explain cyberscan, like from a spiritual, mental, emotional, like all the way down?
Yeah. So the cyberscan, the way that it's programmed is you have 12 levels, 1 through 12, right? 1 through 3 is the physical, 1 being the most physical. And then when you get above 3, like 4 to 12, you're in the energy body. So in the beginning, it's the emotional body. Mm-hmm. Then it gets into more like the spiritual bodies, right? Mm-hmm. And the higher numbers aren't as important as far as the physical, but it impacts your life, because it's like baggage you're carrying, like that memory you had of the dentist who messed up your teeth.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure.
That would be like a 12 on the cyberscan.
We have to erase that.
Yeah, it's a memory. So, it's cell memory. Everything that ever happened to us is recorded in our cell.
Right.
So, yeah.
So that goes in and helps to clear. So it's really clearing the system so that just you shine through.
Right. Original, I would say it brings you back to the original program of health of the cell, energetically.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you're also into a lot of other different modalities and technologies. So every time I run into you, there's something like even cooler coming.
Yeah.
In some category.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So you've been around the biohacking space. So I met Dave Asprey 2012. He's like called the granddaddy of biohacking now.
Right.
So what are your thoughts around the biohacking space in general, and how should somebody approach it? Like, what's the wisest way to go?
Wow. Well, I mean, it's good to listen. I love it all. I learn from everyone. I don't care if they're an asshole or they're a saint. Dave Asprey's a knowledgeable guy. He does have a lot of really good
Very,
stuff.
very, very good.
And I think that you just have to pick and choose what is right for you. But literally learning the foundational stuff, like the most basic stuff, is the most important. Grounding, sun, good water, natural foods, learning how to sleep, the most basic human things. It's really where all the juice is.
Right,
The stuff we use in the clinic is for when you run into serious problems and you need to break through something. Yeah,
your pulse electromagnetic frequency, there's different levels of that. Can you kind of get into the subtle energies all the way up to the more intense ones like the pulse?
Yeah. Well, so PEMF, so I got introduced to this early, I think it was 2000 when the first PEMF devices were coming from Europe, the QRS. Right. From Germany.
Yeah, that was the first,
Yeah, we got exposed. So before that, even though I got exposed to, I had read, there was a book that came out in 1990, and it was The Life of Royal Raymond Rife.
Right.
And all about frequency healing. And that book changed my entire life. I read that book and I was like, this is a thing? You never heard of it.
Right.
1990 is when I first heard about it. And then it was really shortly after that, there was a woman that I met. Her name was Phoenix. I don't know if you knew this one. Anyway.
I don't think so.
She was treating patients down in Mexico at the cancer clinics using a real Rife machine.
Right.
And I'm like, what the heck? This was a big game changer. So anyway, she trained me on how to use it. And we ended up buying one. That was our real first energy medicine device. And that thing literally helped every single patient we ever used. I mean, they could come in with a strep throat or a back pain or whatever. We had a book with the condition. You just type in the frequency, bam, it fixed it. It works, So that I was just fully on board at that point. And then I think that was right around the time when the QRS was coming out, and somehow I found out about, I think Dr. Pollock, Dr. Pollock.
Yeah, I know Dr. Pollock,
Yeah, and so we got into that, and that was okay. I didn't really feel much from it, but you kind of had to have faith because there was some research or something behind it.
That the QRS, right?
Yeah, you can't really feel it, so it's hard to say, but it definitely became part of what we did back then, and now that technology is grown, it went from there to the beamer, and now you've got the cloud technology, which I love the cloud. I use the cloud every day in my own bedroom, in my bed.
It's a nice portable device.
Yeah, so it's great for travel and stuff. I find that with that device, it's about reducing stress. It's just lowering stress.
And that's a PEMA, right?
Yeah.
PEMA.
That one I love for stress. But then when you get into more you've got say a bad knee or a bad ankle or a bad back, and you need serious therapy. That's where the pulse comes in, because now the higher, what the research has shown over the years, the higher the amount of energy coming through the PMF, the better the healing. So that's where pulse, which is the highest level, other than what Thomas has with the what's it called, the PEMF, which is the grand, that thing is a monster.
When you crank it up, that's way cranked up.
Yeah,
it's pretty much intolerable.
Yeah,
if he charges it.
Yeah. Pulse is great because you can lay on there for an hour and you can adjust it up to what you're. They have a saying knock on the door pane, but we don't go inside, which I like, because every patient can tolerate that. And for the most part, I would say everyone gets amazing results with that.
Right.
And some of the things where we've seen the biggest benefits are in bone health, specifically osteoporosis. I mean, we've seen women full-on osteoporosis in 1 year doing pulse every week. It's gone.
Right.
Gone.
Yeah, that's really good, man. And it's hard to reverse that.
Yeah.
It's no gentle task.
Yeah.
So on the other side of the world of all these other different things that you bring in from different peptides, bioregulators, stem cells, exosomes, RPA, all these other technologies that you've combined in to help people. What's your favorite out of all that right now?
Well, I mean, the biggest thing I've seen just clinically with the patients is the RPA. Although I have to say, you have to know what you're doing with it. I mean, it's been a learning process. We've been using it now for 1.5 years, I'd say, since I found out about it. But that one, Phil, now, especially now that the price has come down, because before it was prohibitively expensive, so it was hard for me to even recommend it.
Right.
But now that it's literally like 1/3 the cost of what it used to be, which is great.
That's great.
It's
what it should be. Yeah.
Yeah.
You try to get the least amount of time, energy, effort, and money involved to get the without the shortcuts.
Yeah. But anyway, I mean, I've seen through other practitioners, because I've only had, like, I would say limited experience, but the one patient that we had that just completely sold me on RPA was Kenny. And we gave him 6 vials. He went from a late stage ALS to no ALS in 45 minutes.
And cancer too.
And cancer. And he's still doing good today. And that was over a year ago. But I learned from other practitioners who are using it, complete resolution of arthritis, even with what do you call it? Those calcium spurs, those go away.
Right. That's crazy.
Game changer.
Yeah, right.
Total game changer.
So what have you experienced with the Salva-Cell? Did Kenny do any of the Salva-Cell at that time, or was that later?
Which one?
The Salva-Cell, the CellMed from Miracle?
Oh, no, I've been using that for years now. I mean, recommending it to patients.
Right.
Yeah, mainly just for, cancer cases.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's good for overall health too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's powerful stuff. I mean, you're talking about something that it's like 100,000 time concentrate of turkey tail.
Right.
There's nothing you can get that's even close to that.
Yeah, very unique.
Yeah.
So it's interesting how you really let the cream rise to the top, and you're picking the top stuff because you can see what works and doesn't work. It's not like some trend or some theory or it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Either it does or doesn't.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you're also very, like, and one thing I noticed about you is you're, number one, always happy. It's like no matter what's going on, right? And you're always curious.
Okay.
And you're not trying to reinvent the wheel. You're just like, show me.
Yeah.
And I meet you at the different biohacking events, and that's always fun because, or A4M or wherever.
Yeah.
Just to draw in.
No, I try to look at as many things as I possibly can, because you never know when you're going to find the next. Like, the last I'm really into high-powered lasers, and dude, and it was literally the last vendor, because he told me, he said, listen, I can't demo you legally in this event.
Oh, wow.
Because it's such a powerful, it's a 60-watt laser. He can't turn that thing on without potentially getting thrown out of the event, right? Wow. So I waited to the very end when they closed it down, and he treated me. And because I had tried every therapy in the whole thing for this hip issue I have. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Anyway, he treated me 2 minutes. I had more relief from those 2 minutes than all the other therapies combined. I'm like, that got my attention.
Yeah, you got to get one.
Yeah, definitely got to get one. Yeah, it's on my list.
So last year you had a kind of a dental thing going on that you weren't aware of, and then that affected your heart. So explain how this systemic dentistry is so tapped in to your whole body, and really what you went through with that.
Well, I knew. So before I even had that event, I went to see Dr. Ben from Smile Body, and they did the cone beam x-ray. And I had 2 cavitations, one here, one here.
Wow.
And he's like, yeah, you got to get that taken care of. And, but life gets in the way, you don't prioritize it, right? Until you have a heart attack.
Right.
And then you're like, I need to take care of that.
Yeah, because most heart attacks are not the plugged arteries, or there's a bunch of stuff involved in heart condition. Yeah, right?
Pretty much. Yeah. I mean, and the thing was, I have to say, though, the biohacking that I've been doing since 2016, I'd say, that saved my life. Because when I went into the cath lab, they said, listen, the bad news is you had a widowmaker, 100% blockage of the LAD. That is a near fatal condition. Like only 10% of the people survive that. I didn't barely even knew I was having a heart attack, and it was because I had already grown all these collateral arteries around my heart. And so my heart survived, even though the main artery was blocked.
Right.
But that was because of the dental situation. And so I'm getting that taken care of now, but I have to get cleared by the cardiologist because I still have occasional angina. And I want to talk about that too, because there was one. So finally I found it. The first 2 cardiologists I went to, they refused to do the angioplasty because it was a bifurcated LAD, which is a high risk procedure. So they refused. UCSD, they said no. So we found a surgeon at Cedars who happens to be like the world's leading authority in that specific bifurcation. He teaches doctors all over the world how to clear it, right? And he did it like 10 minutes, went in there, cleared it, cleaned it. He said, listen, I got 2 of them, but there's a third one that's still blocked that could give you problems. And it has. I mean, not bad problems, but once occasionally, if I do anything aggressive, like if I do aggressive detox or even aggressive pulse therapy, I have to be careful because it can stimulate angina, which is like a mini heart attack kind of thing.
Oh yeah,
but
on your left arm and you can feel it.
Well, no, it's just a little pressure kind of in the heart. I don't get the arms. The thing that in this whole process of learning about heart condition, I found Dr. Tom Cowan.
Right.
And I listened to him, and his number one thing for the heart is strophanthus.
Yes.
And that stuff is incredible. I'm now taking it prophylactically because when I first started taking it, I only took it when I had a problem.
Right.
But now I take it 3 times a day just because it prevents any problems.
So now when it comes, and this is so important because when it comes to the heart, usually the first sign of heart disease is a funeral.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So now what do you recommend for everyone, men, women, whoever? What should we be doing to really make sure that we're not just hoping that we're good? What's the best approach like now just to have a check and find out where we're at?
Well, from all the research I did, I mean, the typical thing that everyone does is a calcium score, right? Where they do a CAT scan of your heart and they can see how much calcium is built up in the artery. The problem with that, though, is that you're only looking at hard plaque. Hard plaque is not dangerous. It's soft plaque.
Yeah, right. The LDL, the small size LDL.
And the only way to detect that is through what's called a CMIT. It's a coronary intermedia scan.
So your carotid artery is going to show something as well?
Well, they use an ultrasound, okay? And you can't do it through like a CAT scan or X-ray. They use ultrasound, and they can differentiate between the soft and the hard plaque. And then that gives you a score for your whole body.
So soft plaque is there, but it could easily get let go and then plummet.
And that's what can cause a heart attack or a stroke.
Got it.
So that's really I would say right now, that's the gold standard to really know if you're at risk.
Right, no guesswork.
Yeah, but as a preventative thing, everyone should know this. But one thing I found out through Dr. William Davis, he wrote the book like Wheat Belly and Super Gut, and he's a holistic cardiologist. Okay, he's the one who kind of identified L-reuteri as a foundational. He didn't identify it; he found the research and then got the information out.
Right.
But one of the things that he says is that, and you can look it up, it's research, is omega-3 fish oil, 4,000 milligrams, reverses the plaquing. It actually reverses it. It's the only thing.
Any specific kind, because some of the fish oils are so sketchy.
Yeah, well, that's the big, but he doesn't really get into that. He just says fish oil. So
like Nordic Naturals.
Yeah, I mean, you want to get the best quality. But that being said, and I'll talk about it here. You already know about this. We have a source for an alternate source of DHA from Canada. From Canada. But if you want to call the office, we can get you that alternate source, which, by the way, is about 400 times more effective than fish oil.
Exactly.
Because it's more compatible with mammals.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's some laws involved.
Yeah, so we're not going to say what that is. But even just with fish oil, you're going to get benefit.
Yeah, but the other one is definitely the way to go. So the fish oil and the triglycerides so it's basically DHA, EPA.
Yeah, but it's the DHA part, I think, that is the important.
Yeah, the structurals.
Yeah, but also, the other part of it is you want to be eating seafood. So that's my main protein source now is seafood.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I think Nordic Naturals, we don't promote it or anything, but
they're pretty solid.
Yeah, they have an Ultimate Omega. Yeah, that's probably one in the U.S. That's probably the best one.
Yeah.
Out there.
So. And I think, what do you think about cod liver oil? You think that's a good way to go for too? Yeah. So, but anyway, but that's the main thing. But really, if you have a biohacking lifestyle like doing ice baths and red light therapy, you're upping your survival of a heart attack if you have one. Even if you have a problem like I had with the teeth.
Right.
I mean, I survived. Technically, I had a friend of mine. He was a guy that did stem cells in Texas. He had the same thing I did. He's not here anymore.
Right.
You know, he wasn't a biohacker.
Right. But you had to go through that to be able to learn, because like anytime we go through this weirdness, like I did with this whole dental ridiculous, it's just we learn and then we can put signals out. We have to go through it. We're the guys that have to go through it. It's just kind of just weird. Thankfully, I didn't get a phone call that you passed. That would have been like a little shock.
I'm too healthy. And it was funny because when they had me on the table, the cath table, they were like, "Wow!" It's like they literally like, "There's nothing we need to do," but they really did. But they didn't want to. That's what it was. It was too high risk, so they
liability.
Yeah, they just blew me off. So, but anyway.
So now this other thing, this EECP.
Yeah. Oh, that's the I'm glad you brought that up, because that is the ultimate treatment for blocked artery prevention and post heart attack. Either way, you're going to get massive benefit from EECP. Massive benefit, and we're doing that now in the clinic. So.
Yeah, and you've got in the room over there.
Yeah.
Which is cool. I had one session at Layla's clinic in Miami, and it felt great.
Oh my God. I went through the entire 35 session thing after my heart attack.
Cool.
And I think it did stabilize me. I had to take a break though because of my hip situation, because the belt goes right over the hip.
Right.
And like I would be laying on there. I had to take Amanita to pass out so I could deal with the pain in my hip. But fortunately now I got stem cells in my hip. So hopefully in about 6 weeks or less, I'll have a brand new hip.
You'll be able to get out. So tell us about the hip, because that was like a statin thing.
That's
that whole thing, how they forced you.
They put me on a Lipitor 80 milligram, which by the way is a very big dose. I didn't know. I mean, the pills are like this.
And you didn't need them.
No, but it's standard care after a heart attack. Even if you have normal cholesterol, which I did, by the way, my cholesterol wasn't high, but they put me on the statin. I didn't want to take it, but even my holistic doctor, she's like, listen, the people who take it, statistically, they do better. That's what she said. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. Just because my holistic doctor said that, right? And right away, I started having leg pain, leg heaviness, memory was going. Like I would literally, every time I'd go out to lunch or dinner, I would leave my wallet. That's how bad it was.
Yeah.
Every time. And I'm like,
keys, wallet, passport.
Like, what the hell? Like, and then but the worst thing was my legs were just getting like cement. And then I just started looking up ChatGPT, like what's the number one symptom of a statin drug? Muscle pain. I'm like, oh, great. But it's not just muscle pain. It's muscle pain, muscle damage, and muscle destruction.
That is insane. Like, it's so crazy. But the standard care, people really need to pay attention. Fortunately, we got some access to some better info now with the AI, but you can't use that just for your doctor.
Yeah.
You definitely want to do the research and find
But I mean, I found out after the fact, after I already was damaged, and my hip, I mean, I didn't have a problem before I took the statin, but then because I one wheel every day, that's my big sport. And that probably added to some of the issue, maybe in a minor way, because most one wheelers that I know don't have that problem. Like, in fact, none do. Because I'm in the community and I literally follow thousands of guys who one wheel, and no one complains of that. And I'm like, why am I having this problem? And I think it was a statin that triggered it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. So now tell us a little bit about your discovery on the vibration plate. There's so many vibration plates out there, but this is something pretty unique here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been in the vibration. Well, first of all, I want to go back to my training. Very interesting, because a lot of people don't know this, but our teacher, Yogi Bhajan, when he was alive, he was a yogi from India, right? But I don't know how he knew about it. I think he had some connection with the Russians, because the Russians were the ones who did the initial research with their space program in the 60s, I think.
Yeah, the bone density.
Yeah. And so he knew about that. And he would train a small group of doctors every year. And the number one thing he told us every year for 25 years, every year I trained with this guy, he said, if you can vibrate the body, you can heal the body. Anything in the body.
It's like a cat purring.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was encouraging us to build a vibrator. Back then it didn't exist.
Right.
But he was like, you guys need to build a vibration thing that vibrates your body, right? And then they eventually started coming out, in the early 2000s, and
That's right.
yeah, and then
All the wobblers.
the wobbles, and then there was a few that did the straight, but the real research was done with machines that just a pure wave, just a clean, pure fat, just clean wave right through the body, right?
Yep.
And the only company I'm aware of that makes that is the Vibe Plate company. And I did a lot. Well, I found this Dr. Chula. He's a chiropractor. I think he's in Atlanta. And he trains a lot of pro athletes and people like that. And he rehabs them. And he's like, listen, this is the best Vibe Plate there. I mean, well, it's called Vibe Plate, but it's the best whole body vibration because it's a pure wave. And you can even put a chair on it, like a disabled person who can't even stand. You can put a chair on the thing and they'll get all the benefit.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, it's got a nice square. I like it. And it's simple, it's affordable.
Yeah.
It also has an adjustable thing. And you also discovered this other thing that where you can.
Oh, yeah. The Chinese back thing. Yeah. So it's basically like a wobble. It's got 4 different like padded rolls, right? And you can put it right on the Vibe Plate and lay on your back, and it vibrates the whole spine, which was really, I think, Yogi Bhajan's vision when he was training us, is that he wanted to get the whole body to vibrate, especially through the spine.
Right. And it's funny how we're at his clinic right now.
Yeah.
That's pretty weird, right?
There's no accident there.
What year did he pass?
2004.
Okay, so you've been gone for 22 years. Yeah, wow, that's an interesting time.
Yeah.
2004.
Yeah.
So, yeah, how old was he?
He's sick.
Oh, he was a young guy.
Yeah.
So what took him up?
He had diabetes. Yeah. He had a heart condition too. Yeah. He was overweight. He had a bad lifestyle. Right. He really did. I mean, he was grossly obese. He was at the point, and his doctors are the ones. Listen, if I had taken care of him, he would be alive today. But he had medical doctors taking care of him, and they had the belief system that when you have diabetes, you can't reverse it. Absolutely cannot reverse it. And the progression is they take your toe, they take your foot, they take your leg. And that's what was happening to him. Yeah, dude.
He was getting amputated?
Yeah.
That is so bad.
Yeah, and then not only that, but then the kidneys, kidneys
Everything
go.
gets hammered. So and everybody now is talking about A1C and glucose. That's another distraction. Because what I learned is that fasting insulin, that's the number, because that doesn't change.
Yeah.
And you have to work to change that. So I'm running at 3.3, and that's like superhuman, because anything below 5 is really good. Anything above 5, you're into insulin resistance. You go to a doctor, they'll tell you anything below 18 is just fine. And it's all designed around getting people ill because
and they don't believe you can reverse it.
Right. But you totally can.
Oh, yeah.
I was hypoglycemic. I was probably diabetic, but didn't want to admit it at one point. But the other thing that ties into this is yeast. Yeah. Have you heard about this cosmic death fungus?
Yeah, I think you told me about it. Yeah. That's what causes.
Well, no, that's all tapped in.
Oh, it's tapped in.
Tapped into getting people to eat food that they know their body doesn't want. It makes them feel bad. So yeast feeds the fungus, which feeds the brain that says, feed me.
Right. So it's taking over their psyche, basically.
Right. So, he was definitely controlled by that, and didn't even know. Like, this is all the information we have now. Like, this is the stuff that's going to make all the difference. Like you said, the core things in the lifestyle is what makes the difference. People are willing to do it. It's great. If they're not, that's great too. It's up to their body.
You pay the price.
That's right.
When they say ignorance is bliss, but it ain't really bliss. It's more like hell when you get down to it.
For sure. So other technologies you have here, like you've got the shockwave stuff,
Cellsonic.
Yeah, and all these different impact machines that are really helping the body to really reset. Like, so the concept, what I gather overall, is that we're supporting the body's ability to heal itself.
Exactly, 100%.
But you could step in and really do something where somebody's not willing to go to the core. But this clinic is all about going to the core if you want. And there's people who come from around the world here. And it's not like some big, flashy, just very comfortable, beautiful clinic, really.
Yeah, so you feel like you're at home here. It's like a home.
It is a very home situation. Yeah. And very, very heart-centered. Yeah, it's a beautiful clinic. And what's the name of it? What if the people are going to look it up?
Transformational Healing Universe.
Right, THU.
THUheal.com. That's the website.
Right, and then the sign in the front of the building?
Sikh Dharma.
Sikh Dharma.
Yeah, because it's owned by Sikh Dharma. That was Yogi Bhajan's organization.
And he also owned Yogi Tea?
Yeah.
So he was a fairly wealthy guy when he
was a billionaire when he passed.
Oh, wow.
Billionaire. Because he had The thing that made him a billionaire was the security company, a call security. They had $1 billion contract with the US government for security of all 800 military bases worldwide.
Whoa.
He was best friends with Bill Clinton.
That's not good.
And Bill Richardson, if you know who that is, he was the governor of
Right.
New Mexico.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I don't think he knew Jeffrey. He might have, but we never saw Jeffrey.
Yeah,
But
good.
he might have known who he was. But I think Bill did for sure,
Yeah,
because he was
definitely.
on the plane. You know.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so anyway, well, everybody comes and fills their role and they do their thing. And
Yeah.
he spun off a lot of pretty amazing stuff when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, I'd say he did a good job. There was definitely a lot of controversy around him. And it's funny because none of it came out until 20 years after he died.
Right.
You
That's
know,
what
that-
happens, though.
yeah.
It happens. It comes out.
Yeah.
Just like all these people in Europe and England, and oh man, and you realize, hold on, what's going on here? This is stay clear of that, whatever.
Yeah.
We're just here to help people.
Yeah.
So you're, as far as your mission and vision, what do you see now going into the future? Where do you see everything going with your mission and vision, and then just where the world's going with health and overall?
Well, I think doing podcasts like this and getting the knowledge out there, because most people have no clue. And, like just the thing that you're aware of it is the plasma healing,
Yep.
that is
That's the
a
next
whole field that we don't really know a whole lot. We know that it's powerful and it does some amazing healing. And we're starting to manufacture those devices. That's coming. That's really meant to be used in a home setting for a whole family.
Yeah, anybody can sit down and use it, right? And then Thomas's clinic in Malibu with all his diagnostics, and he has a lot of plasma stuff there too, which is very interesting.
But this is really meant for home use, which is
anybody can just turn it on and you use it.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what the condition is.
Yeah, so that's a whole next level. So we're going to learn more about that this week.
Yep.
So that's exciting.
Great. It's awesome.
Well, I really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Because I know you're busy, but today was a nice Sunday, quiet day.
Yeah. No, this is great. It was perfect. Perfect timing. It was like literally perfect. I was like, yep, let's do it.
Yeah. Spur of the moment. All right, man. Well, appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Yeah, it was awesome. I can't wait to see the thing. It's going to be cool. Very cool.
All right. Okay. Everyone, we'll catch up to you again soon. We'll definitely keep the interviews going with Dr. Harhari, and we'll have a lot of fun with it.
Sweet.
All right.
Awesome.